It's time for ACC Central, presented by College Baseball Central. Hosted by Monty Taylor, Micah Butel, and Nick Dioli.
Welcome back to a very special bonus breaking news episode of ACC Central. I'm Monty Taylor. I'm joined by the one and only Micah Butel, who's also doing our sound effects that I did not know was coming. I got a little alarm there, but let's just get right to it. There's big news coming out of Charlotte this morning as the ACC announces a new format for the conference tournament. The format's changing from pool play to a single elimination tournament and expanding to include 16 teams. That format's going to go into effect for the upcoming season and debut at this year's event in Durham at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. Micah, my guy, for the first time since 2005, we're not going to have pool play at the ACC tournament. We're not going to have round robin at the ACC tournament. What's your instant reaction to this news?
I just wanted to hold a moment of silence for the pool, if the season ended today, templates and graphics that I worked so hard on last year. They were only good for 1 year. But no, I mean, initial reaction is I'm glad all 16 teams get a chance. The other side of it is the single elimination might take some warming up to do.
Yeah, my first thought is always, and this is just kind of, I think, somebody who is kind of resistant to change sometimes. My first thought is like to immediately dislike it just because it's different. My second thing is then why the change? But pool play hasn't been perfect either, right? Like there's many people out there that dislike it and some that are confused by it. I know Noah likes to tweet out every year that nobody understands pool play, and if you say you do, you're lying. So my immediate reaction is, okay, this could be fun. It definitely creates more drama within the tournament itself. So that's, you're not going to have these meaningless games that you sometimes had in pool play. But I think it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a new experiment.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks. I'm really concerned for just like what it means for some of these bubble teams in the future. Like, because, like for example, maybe a good example is Georgia Tech last year, right? If they just lose their first game and they were the like 9 or 10 seed, I think, something like that.
Yeah, they did lose both.
Yeah, like you lose your first game, you're done. And like I know losing 2 games, but like you almost get more value by playing Virginia and Florida State close than you did if you just are one and done. And again, you're the 9 seed and you lose to 8 seeded, I don't know, Wake Forest or something. Like, I don't know. It's there's some question marks about it for sure. But I mean, I do like, again, that all 16 teams do get a chance. And again, there is still value to being in the regular season. There is still value to be a top 4. There's value to be the top 8. So there's value for things. It's just, it definitely, it's really going to stink, I think, Monty, for those teams 9 through 12, those teams we think that are going to potentially make the NCAA tournament, who are really going to need game 1.
Yep. And we're going to get into the specifics in a second, but I want to take you down history lane. It's the first time, as I mentioned, since 2005 that we're not going to have round robin or pool play. Do you know who won the ACC tournament in 2005?
Give me Maryland.
No. It was Georgia Tech.
Oh,
Georgia Tech over 7.
I should have known that. I have the hat for the 2005 national champions.
2005 national champions. They defeated Virginia, the 7th seed. Only 8 teams made it. It was a double elimination tournament. However, they had a single elimination play-in amongst teams that were ranked 8 through 11, and they played a 4-team single elimination to determine the 8th seed. So weirdly, I
want to rebuttal that. That means we've had single elimination the last 20 years, Monty. Because if you weren't if you weren't the 1 through 4, if you lost one game, you were also eliminated. So I demand that you recount this. I'm just kidding.
By the way, fun fact on that all-tournament team includes 2 future World Series champions from the University of Virginia in Sean Doolittle and Ryan Zimmerman. So not a bad UVA team, even though they finished 7th. But, they expanded from 8 teams to 10 teams. And then when they expanded to 12 was in 2017. So let's get into the specifics here. 16 teams. So teams seeded 1 through 4 are going to get a double bye right into the quarterfinals. So there's still an advantage to finishing in that top 4, just like there was with pool play. And then the next 4 teams 5 through 8, they're going to get a first round bye and go immediately into the second round on Wednesday, which means the last 8 teams that are in the tournament, seeds 9 through 16, they're going to have to play on Tuesday. And then Wednesday is the second round. So you're looking at 4 games each on Tuesday and Wednesday, 2 games Thursday, 2 games Friday, 2 games Saturday, and then the championship on Sunday. It is single elimination. That means win and advance, lose, and you go home. The conference champion's still going to get the automatic bid. It's still 15 games over 6 days, just as it was with pool play. And from what I understand, this was proposed by all 16 head coaches and supported by the student athletes. Sounds a little confusing, right? It's not just a 1 versus 16 in the first round, straightforward single elimination, right? We got some buys and some double buys, but it still seems a little bit less confusing than pool play, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's definitely way simpler to explain. As Monty pulls up our preseason, our preseason poll, as if it went exactly as we expected to. Yeah, so guys, this is actually the official ACC tournament bracket. You guys are seeing it first. This is exactly how it's going to play out, but
yeah, we used our CBC preseason power rankings as the seeds to kind of show you what this tournament could look like in May. Because again, it's going into effect for this season, like it's immediate effect. And you can kind of see there, especially with the times. We don't know the game times are going to be, but you're fitting 4 games in, so we can kind of guess as to what the start times might be on the Tuesday and Wednesday. And then, with 2 games, you're pretty wide open for how you want to put those 2 games. But the 4 games a day is going to be pretty hard. But as you can see, it looks a little bit cleaner here when you've got it in the bracket form, right, Micah?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a lot, but again, it's a lot easier to track than a pool play. That's for sure.
Yep. And it's very similar to what the SEC has been doing, although they've been doing it with 12 teams, or I guess 14 teams, excuse me. And then
12 teams made it, 2 teams didn't make it. So
that's right. That's right. Yep. So they had 12 teams make it, but they didn't do pool play.
Has the SEC announced theirs? Are they doing this almost same format, you think?
As far as I know, I haven't heard anything, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. I feel like if they did change it, it would be to this, or they just stick with the 12 and have the 4 teams miss.
That'd be a bold move on their part.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. This is exciting. The more I think about it, the more excited I get. That might just be because this is the change that's happening and I have no choice but to be excited. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. It's going to be new. It's going to be different. But, pool play, again, wasn't perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be... Again, I think the pool play was fun in one sense. I'm curious, I think... I don't know how far we want to go into this or when we want to start talking more real thoughts, but I am curious, student athletes voted for it, but just thinking about travel logistics for like a Cal or even a Stanford, right? Like you're flying there for the potential of 1 game.
Well, remember, Stanford will already be there.
Okay. Then you got to hang around for an extra 3 days and only potentially play 1 game. And it's just kind of, again, it's kind of weird. Like, again, not just, right. We're just learning about this. Yeah. So we're obviously talking through like Notre Dame. I mean, you got to fly down to Durham, for 1 game. Pittsburgh, you're gonna have to fly down there for 1 game. So it's definitely a little weird just to kind of see it that way. Like, that Miami Boston College game, that's really gonna stink for whoever loses that game if that were to come to be, right? Show up on Tuesday, you're one of them. Someone's going home tomorrow, like that next night or same night. So that's it's going to be interesting. But
you know what would really make me feel better about this would be if there was a Monday media day.
If we think someone's watching, I think they should maybe take that into consideration.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome because that would kind of make it, I think, a little bit more.
They end the regular season on that Saturday, so there's technically
and there's no, and I don't think anyone's in classes unless Stanford's doing something weird with their, their. And
you're gonna probably know who's playing, or at least have a very good chance of who's playing on that Tuesday, just by the fact that like if you're 16 through probably 12, you've probably locked up that spot. Maybe the 9, 10, 11 spots could potentially be still up for grabs that last weekend, but for the most part, you've at least got 4 or 5 teams locked into like, hey, you're playing Tuesday at that point. So,
by the way, random segue. I know we're just kind of using our preseason power rankings as a visual for how the tournament's going to work, but like a UNC Duke like quarterfinal potential just caught my eye.
I was already going to start my rant about how Virginia's going to have to play Wake or Georgia Tech.
Yeah, the season hasn't even started. You're already ready to roll.
Like,
mid-season Micah.
But
no. So, but no, I mean, I the more I look at it, the more I think about it, the more excited I am.
I do like that we get to see everybody in Durham. Like I do, yeah. Like it was sad last year not seeing BC and Notre Dame there. Like especially because like a Notre Dame team you thought could maybe make some noise. Heck, maybe even BC if they got going, right? Like it does allow for some of the beauty of the sport, and in a way, man, it maybe is more beneficial for the ACC because maybe it is that we've got 11 teams locked up in that 12th seed pit. Or that's the perfect example of our thing, 13th seed of Virginia Tech, who doesn't even go last year, now goes on a run. I mean, I could see Virginia Tech be taking down Pitt, Duke, and UNC in back-to-back nights. And now you're playing in a championship. And again, you're going to have to earn it because you're going to have to play 5 games if you're going to win it all. So you're going to have to earn it. So it's not like you're not going to earn a championship. So there's a lot to unpack with it for sure. Because again, this is the most, lucrative thing of all time, but it definitely feels, especially in a sport where you value weekend series more than, a single game. It is quite strange to see a one game literally decides it all.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world where you don't really have to factor in logistics or money or time, you could do 16-team double elimination and kind of simulate what a regional and super regional might look like, but you just don't have that ability logistically or with the time frame that you're given to do that. Otherwise, that'd be a really cool way to kind of prepare for the next step. But I think this is a really good way to really turn on the juices ahead of, really competitive play that you're going to have the following weekend if you make the NCAA tournament. It's really exciting stuff overall, and I'm looking forward to it. There's obviously going to be some pros and cons on both sides. I kind of started very quickly just kind of trying to throw some pros together, with, every ACC team, as we've mentioned, is going to get an opportunity to compete. I mean, you could have, a team that has no business making the NCAA tournament being a Cinderella. That's kind of cool, and it doesn't matter what your regular season has. You're going to have an opportunity to compete, and you're going to have to be eliminated. You're going to have to be beaten to get knocked out. You're going to have to end your season on a loss one way or another to get to end your year, right? It's less confusing. 4 games on Tuesday and Wednesday is pretty awesome. Baseball and breakfast, right? Yeah, some people get.
That's probably your favorite thing about this is the fact that you could wake up at 7 a.m., watch baseball, and then be back at your hotel room at 2 a.m. the next day for a 4-hour power nap to do it all over again on Wednesday.
I'm not sure I end up leaving the ballpark at that point. You know what I mean?
That's true. Durham Bulls staff, just be prepared to leave the ballpark open.
Yeah, just find, get me a cot or something. But, that's an exciting thing. Some people are excited about like kegs and eggs on special events or brunch. We really get excited about breakfast and baseball. Another pro is the best performing regular season teams. They still get that advantage, and they still have to play less games to, win a championship and get rewarded for what they did in the regular season. And a big pro is that every game matters and creates drama. You agree with all those as being pros?
That's true. The amount of games that we had with these 2 teams are 0-1. Who cares? That's true. That's a good point. Like we had what, 2 games last year? We're like, it does not matter who wins this game because it's already over. So it is nice that have the every game matters. And again, like I do like the reward. Like, if you are a top 4 seed, you are basically playing a glorified weekend. Obviously, you don't want to lose a game, but like, A, you're probably a lock for the NCAA tournament because you're top 4 in the ACC. But B, right, like you can kind of strategize like, hey, we only have to go win 3 games. Like, in pool play, you had to win 4 no matter what. Like, you had to win 4 to win.
Or play 4.
Play 4, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I guess you could technically win 3. But you had to play 4. So it's nice to kind of have that kind of luxury if you're a top 4 seed. And again, like the 5 through 8 only have to play 4, right? I'm not mistaken on that number. And then it's 5 for everybody else. So, it kind of works out well.
Yeah, and looking at some of the cons, we've already kind of addressed some. You don't get the guaranteed 2 games to boost resumes. You don't get as a fan, you don't get the guaranteed 2 games to see your team if you're making the trip to the tournament, right? Like if you're coming from Louisville, you were guaranteed to see your team play twice, no matter what. Now they could be done on Tuesday, and all of a sudden your plans go out the window, right? No late season drama to determine who makes tourney. That's a big one, right? Remember Pitt last year and Notre Dame and Boston College. I think Boston College was out the last weekend, but Pitt and Notre Dame went down to the wire, and Pitt winning their last 2 weekend series to get in created some late regular season drama. But you're still going to be playing for seeds, and Micah's still going to be posting graphics about the seeds, I think. So that's a benefit, right?
I don't really know if I'm going to be doing that though, because all it is just the standings.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
We already posted that. So, like,
right.
I mean, I guess, like, I could visualize it for people a little bit better by showing you how the bracket plays out. But, like, if not to be, a jerk, but I'm actually complimenting our listeners, right? Like, you're probably smart enough to be able to piece together, all right, like, top 4 double bye, 5 through 8 bye. All right, 8's going to get the 9-16. Like,
that's
valid.
valid.
We might try it, but I don't know if it'll be worth the time and effort, Monty.
Yeah,
I think people can piece it together.
Another con, you won't be able to see the top 4 teams until at the earliest on Thursday. You might not see 2. You're not going to see 2 of them until Friday. But I mean, we didn't see North Carolina last year until Thursday, right? Because they were the number 1 seed and they got to choose. Yeah. So not sure how much a big deal that is, but that was something that popped into my mind. A big one here. There is absolutely no wiggle room on Tuesday and Wednesday for rain delays or extra inning games. So that's that's long nights and early mornings. So
I mean, I guess there's a little bit of wiggle room where everything gets pushed back a little bit. We're talking about 4 games on a Saturday or something, but
if you push back the days,
But yeah, that's not going to be
Yeah.
I hope the Bosch is open that weekend too.
Yeah, exactly.
Run it back again.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out, but I'm looking forward to it. I think the pros, as we just went through them, I could be forgetting any. Is there any that come to mind that I may have forgotten? Because it seems like the pros outweigh the cons, definitely.
I don't know if I say the pros outweigh the cons. I think my problem, Monty, is I was always a big hater of the SEC having the single elimination. I always thought that was really dumb, right? We have a sport that's the whole point of the sport is to win the weekend. And in this logic, you can't win the weekend. You just have to win the game in front of you, which, again, creates more drama. I get that. I just feel bad for I'm very afraid that the number 11 seed is going to end up playing themselves out. Like, we're going to have the 11th seeded, I don't remember who that would be for our Miami Hurricanes, and they're going to be playing the 14 seeded Boston College Eagles or whoever it was. And BC is going to win that game. BC was they're not getting in with an at-large. Like, they're just too far out. And now Miami's probably out because the 11 seed in the SEC, again, they have to play the same thing, but you're going to run into that issue. Or, again, you've got the Big 12 sixth best team now getting in because they played 3 games against, better competition. Their RPI rises. And we all know where, it's like sometimes you run into the issue of, it's just recency bias. I mean, again, like there were teams last year that were left out because they struggled in their conference tournament. They lost their first game in their conference tournament. I'll just say, I'll just maybe make a reference to one right now. And they get left out because that's just kind of the recency bias of society. So I'm a little bit weary of it. And again, as a fan, right, I don't like that you don't have a guaranteed 2. Like, it was kind of nice to know, hey, like you're going for a day or two, or like, right. For me last year, I would have complained a lot because, oh, yay, now I've got to, my trip with you, Monty, would have been 9-16, 10-15, 11-14, 12-13. And I mean, that'd have been fine, but like, I'm glad I got to see Duke the first night. I'm glad I got to see Georgia Tech and Florida State. I'm like,
Jamie Arnold getting a save.
Correct. Like I saw higher end teams. So like, I think you devalue the Tuesday product too, from a standpoint of just like who really wants to go watch it. But again, there is the value of, like you said, every game is going to matter now. Like it kind of felt like some of those games didn't matter in the old ACC tournament format. So at least you're creating that. And again, too, if you are a fan of the ACC, I think it is fun that, you can go to Durham and you can like literally see all 16 teams. Like you don't have to do what I did last year and drive around the conference. You could guarantee seeing all 16 just by going to all the conference tournament games.
Yes, I did not drive around the whole conference like you did, and I did not get to see Notre Dame.
Yeah, so now as long as you go to the Durham, Monty, you're going to see them all. As long as you go to all the games in Durham.
Which yes, I was very concerned about the number of total baseball games being played. I was like, it better not be less than 15, and it was exactly the same. I was like, okay, I'm okay.
I think that's the other positive I have is like it doesn't actually change all that much. And again, we're estimating times. Let's make sure we stress that. Like we have not seen the time format. There's a world where maybe they play it kind of similar as what they used to do with the old pool play. Like maybe there is maybe they punish the lower seed by like the 8th seed by having to play a doubleheader. The 9 seed have to play a doubleheader, or the 12-13 team has to play a doubleheader. Like I could see that. I'm not saying they're going to, but there's a world where that happens. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, and I mean, considering the weather issues, that might have to be the move. I run that risk of potentially. So, and if that's the case, that's kind of fun too. Cause again, I had in the SoCon tournament, we had to see teams play multiple games in a day. I think that's more common than what we're kind of looking at right now from the ACC standpoint, Monty. So, you might see the 12-13 matchup will be playing a doubleheader the next day or that same night or whatever, or once you get past that. So it would have been, the 8-9 matchup will get the 1 seed the same day as they played early in the morning. I mean, you could see it. I mean, it would be kind of weird, but you could see it.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking through it, and after, 20 minutes of this kind of sinking in, probably a little bit more than, it's been a little bit more than 20 minutes, but sinking in, how are you feeling as you've talked through this? Because we're reacting pretty quickly.
Sky is fun. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna make me be a lot more cognizant of watching the games. There's a lot to take in with it. But I think again, it's a lot to be excited about. I think it does bring some value. Like if you are an ACC baseball fan, Durham is going to be the place to be because you are going to watch high quality, high importance baseball every single day, every single moment. And again, I mean, I do like with how good our conference is this year. I don't know how you do it right. You can't. I would have been mad if they would have stuck with the 12. So I really can't say that they did this wrong because a 14-team tournament's a really weird format. You're going to have to try to figure out, and a 12 team you're leaving out too many. We have, in my opinion, 14 legitimate teams that there's going to be 2 that are going to be near the bottom that are probably just have no mathematical equation to get in there, and injury issues or just things didn't click. But you've got more. You're going to have more than we have 12 teams right now that we think are legitimate NCAA tournament contenders.
And
Go ahead.
And we've discussed all 16 teams, if things go right, could be there. Obviously, mathematically, they probably won't have all 16 teams.
But I mean, we're talking about in our projections on College Baseball Central, we have Virginia Tech as the 13th seed. I've seen them in the top 40 of pretty much every poll in college baseball, minus me. We didn't extend ours out that far. Maybe they don't make our top 40, but besides that, PG gave them some love. D1 gave them some love. That's your 13th seed missing the tournament. That sucks almost more than, again, the 9 seed who's probably in getting upset by the 16 seed. We've been doing these team previews, right? I don't remember which one. Next up is, or we're going to be releasing NC State tonight.
NC State tonight.
So, because we obviously North Carolina was last night. You're running into the issue of because we obviously record some of those ahead, we've talked about other teams. Like, you're going to run into an issue where, like, again, a Pitt, right? If they can find that Friday guy, or, BC finds the Friday guy that's nasty, and they have the matchup against Georgia Tech, who, again, we're high on. Why am I trying to blank? Oh my gosh, why am I trying to blank on his name? Tate McKee. Tate McKee. I almost said Tanner McKee. Tate McKee.
That's a quarterback, right?
Yeah, right. I think so. But like with Tate McKee, like, if they have the right day, right, like, crazy things happen. I mean, again, look at the NCAA tournament last year. We had Evansville knocking off ECU, and
it happened to the ACC tournament. Gage Zeal.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. Like, you run into the right, and again, like, there was some fun to seeing how, like, the top 4 seeds were going to adjust their pitching based off who they wanted to face. Again, like getting Chase Burns to throw against UNC on that Friday. But, like, at the same time, now it kind of creates more of, I think, like okay, if you're the 9 seed, you don't want to be done. So are you going to throw McKee here if you're Georgia Tech in that situation? Probably. So now you've got 8-seeded Wake trotting out their number 1 guy versus
your number 2.
Yeah, correct. Or again, maybe the 8 seed decides to throw their number 2.
Right.
It's 2 versus 2, and you think you have a better number 2, and then you've got your ace lining up against number 1. And then it kind of creates this, again, like, there's a lot of fun things. The more I think about it, that creating, again, like, it's going to be fun when we do recaps, Monty. Yeah. And we're literally talking about how, like, or we're previewing it, right? It's like, okay, where's the matchup strength? Like, there's going to be a matchup somewhere where we're going to be like, again, Cal's got the lineup now. Or, again, we've talked about different, like Stanford, we know we trust the pitching. We're not sure about the hitting. So, like, what if the pitching isn't on par? Or they play Georgia Tech, who can hit the piss out of the ball? Like, there's a lot of things to be excited about. So I think from this standpoint, they got it right, because it would have been wrong to stay at 12. And I don't know how you do 14. And again, you don't want to play more than 15 games. I mean, you and I would love that, but we got to look at player safety, and we only have a ballpark for a couple of days. And also shout out to my guy, John, right? Like, I'd feel really bad for him having to actually be full-time required to stay at the ballpark, like, for 24 hours straight. As someone that got drained doing 16 SoCon games, I can only imagine what 20 ACC games would feel like, when you have some electric teams that could go extras and other things like that. So
yeah, it's funny. I can't wait to do this. It's gonna be brutal. Like, it's gonna be a brutal week for covering.
You're not gonna love when I'm like, are you ready to do the recording now? And you're like, dude, you've been watching on your TV. You got to take a nap during the 4th inning. Yeah. I've been like, because obviously I hate to say it. I mean, hopefully Lamar is still playing right that weekend, so I won't be. I mean, I don't think it'd be justifiable for me to fly to Charlotte for the first 2 days.
Durham.
Where, as much as I'd love to see you, Monty, I'm hoping to see you with 5 ACC teams in Omaha.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, the hard part isn't necessarily staying up and doing the recording after the last game. It's knowing that you have to wake up early the next day.
You got to try to turn out all that writing too. It's like you're going to be churning and burning right. It's not like hard work, but it's tedious and hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's again, you're going to want to enjoy the game, and you never want baseball to become like an actual drag, but it's going to have a day or two where you're like,
Well, and I also like to get to the ballpark relatively early to get set up and ready to roll.
That's
so
true. That's super early with you, Monty. That was crazy. We opened the box office.
Yeah,
we weren't even open when we got there.
Yeah, I like to get settled and ready to roll, get my score sheet and everything ready, and then give me time to socialize when everyone else comes in, because all my prep work is done.
All my TikTok followers aren't paying attention to the 2 hours before game time, so I don't need to be there that early.
Micah, what's
up, guys? I'm sitting behind home plate. It's your boy.
But that's going to wrap it up. I think for us, this bonus episode. You're welcome for us doing this in the middle of the day. Right off the bat, we as we mentioned, we do have NC State team preview tonight at 9:00 because of Southern Fried Baseball at 8:00. But we have a couple more team previews, and eventually we'll have a weekend preview, as we're about 9 days from college baseball. Mike, do you have anything else you want to add before we let our audience go in under a record 30 minutes?
No. Yesterday, the news about the college teams and the MLB The Show came out, and I think there's no ACC team, so I don't know whose door we need to knock on there, but that's okay. I mean,
MLB The Show's door.
Okay. I mean, if you're gonna put UCLA in there, I'm not taking you very seriously anyways. Last time UCLA was relevant, Trevor Bauer was like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
Cal State Fullerton.
I'm not going to insult the Titans. I love me some Big West baseball. So
you'll go after the UCLA. All right, whatever.
Plus, that's Stanford's opening day, okay? We got to put some respect on the Titans' name.
There we go. All right, we'll be back tonight with the team preview for NC State. But until then, it just means less.